Here's something nobody wants to admit. A goldfish, yes, a goldfish, has an attention span of 9 seconds. Scientists measured the average human attention span in 2024. You know what they found? 8 seconds. You are currently losing to a fish. And the worst part? You probably forgot what I said 10 seconds ago. But before you throw your phone out the window and move to a monastery, relax. Because here's what nobody is telling you. Your short attention span is not a personal failure. It is not laziness. It is not your generation. It is 200,000 years of evolution doing exactly what it was designed to do. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand why your brain works this way, and more importantly, how to actually work with it instead of against it. This is why humans have a short attention span, and what you can actually do about it. To understand why your brain works this way, we need to take a little trip, not to therapy, although maybe after this. We're going back, way back. 200,000 years ago, your ancestor, let's call him P, was not sitting in an office. He was not doom scrolling. He was out there in the wild, trying to not get eaten. And his brain had one job, one single job: stay alive. Now think about what staying alive actually required back then. You couldn't zone out. You couldn't hyper-focus on one thing for hours, because the moment you stopped scanning your environment, the moment you got too comfortable, something with very large teeth made you your lunch. So the brain that survived wasn't the focused brain. It was the restless brain, the easily distracted brain, the brain that never stopped looking around. Here's what was actually happening inside that prehistoric skull. Every time P's brain detected something new, a sound, a movement, a shadow, it released a tiny shot of dopamine, a chemical reward, a little signal that said, "Good job, you noticed that, you might survive today." That constant switching of attention wasn't a disorder. It was the system working perfectly. In fact, scientists call this the orienting response. Your brain is hardwired to automatically shift attention toward anything new or unexpected. It kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Every human alive today is descended from the ones who could not sit still and focus. Think about that. You didn't inherit a broken brain. You inherited a winning brain. It just hasn't gotten the memo that we no longer live in a savanna. Fast forward to today. The savanna is gone. The predators are gone. But the brain? Completely identical. Same hardware, same software, same dopamine reward system. Except now, instead of scanning for lions, it's scanning for notifications. Instead of reacting to rustling bushes, it's reacting to a red badge on an app icon. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a predator and a push notification. To your amygdala, that ancient survival part of your brain, they feel exactly the same. Urgent, important, drop everything and pay attention. So every time your phone buzzes, your 200,000-year-old brain goes into full survival mode over a meme about a cat. This is not stupidity. This is ancient programming running in a modern world. And once you understand that, everything starts to make a lot more sense. Make the brain feel like a cast of characters, not a textbook. All right, now that we know where this all came from, let's go deeper. Let's actually go inside the brain. And I want to introduce you to two very important characters who are running the show up there. First, meet prefrontal Pete. Pete lives in the front of your brain. He's calm, logical, patient. He makes plans. He thinks before he acts. He's basically the responsible adult in the room. And then there is amygdala Amy. Amy is ancient. Amy does not think. Amy reacts. Amy's entire personality is this a threat? Should I panic? Because Amy has been keeping humans alive since before Pete even existed. And here's the problem. When Amy gets triggered, Pete gets ignored completely. every single time.
Now here is where it gets really interesting. Your brain runs on a chemical called dopamine, and dopamine is not actually the pleasure chemical. That is a common myth. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It is the something good might happen chemical. It fires before the reward, not after. Which means your brain is not addicted to the content on your phone. It is addicted to the possibility of content, the scroll, the refresh, the tap. Each one is a tiny gamble, and your brain loves gambling. In fact, your phone works exactly like a slot machine. You pull the handle, you scroll, and sometimes you get something interesting. Sometimes you don't. And that unpredictability, that random reward schedule, that is the most addictive pattern ever discovered in neuroscience. Las Vegas figured this out decades ago, then Silicon Valley took notes. There is another piece to this puzzle that nobody talks about. Your brain has something called a novelty bias, meaning your brain is literally hardwired to pay more attention to new things than familiar things. Scientists call this habituation. When something is new, your brain lights up, dopamine fires, attention locks in. But the moment something becomes familiar, your brain starts to tune it out. It stops firing. It gets bored. This is why the first episode of a new show is exciting, but by season 4, you're on your phone while watching it. This is why a new relationship feels electric, but a long one feels comfortable. This is why you can read the same page of a book 5 times and absorb absolutely nothing. Your brain is not broken, it's just aggressively uninterested in things it has already seen. And here's the part that should genuinely make you a little angry, because this is not an accident. Every app on your phone was designed by teams of neuroscientists, behavioral psychologists, and engineers whose entire job was to exploit exactly what we just talked about. The infinite scroll was specifically designed so there is no stopping point for your brain. The red notification badge was chosen because red triggers urgency in the amygdala. The variable reward of a like. Sometimes you get 1, sometimes you get 50. That's a deliberate slot machine mechanic. These companies aren't building apps, they're building attention extraction machines. And your prehistoric, dopamine-hungry brain is walking straight into the trap every single time, fully equipped with 200,000-year-old software against a trillion-dollar industry. And people wonder why focus is hard. But wait, before you completely spiral into an existential crisis about your attention span, I need to show you something. Because there's a giant hole in the humans have short attention span story, and nobody's talking about it. If humans genuinely had short attention spans, explain Netflix. Explain how millions of people sit completely still for 4, 5, 6 hours straight watching a series. No breaks, no scrolling, fully locked in. Explain how someone can spend an entire Saturday on a couch watching a show they've already seen before. That's not a short attention span, that's laser focus. So what's actually going on here? Because the same person who cannot read 3 paragraphs of a book can watch 12 episodes of a show back to back without blinking. Something doesn't add up. And it's not just Netflix. Gamers, a so-called generation with the worst attention spans in history, will sit and play a single video game for 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours straight. Problem solving, learning complex systems, memorizing maps, mechanics, and strategies, with complete and total focus. No one is forcing them. No one is giving them a grade. They're doing it entirely voluntarily, for fun. And parents are out here worried their kids can't pay attention. Their kids can pay attention for 12 hours straight. They just can't pay attention to things that weren't designed to be interesting. And that's a completely different problem. So here's the truth, and I want you to really sit with this because it changes everything. You don't have a short attention span. You have a low boredom threshold. Those are 2 completely different things.
A short attention span means you can't focus. A low boredom threshold means you will not focus on things that fail to engage you. And that distinction matters enormously, because one is a disability, the other is a standard. Your brain has simply been trained by years of hyper-stimulating content to expect a very high level of engagement before it agrees to pay attention. Netflix meets that standard. Games meet that standard. Your biology textbook does not. Your quarterly report does not. Your brain is not broken. It's just incredibly picky. And the question is no longer, how do I fix my attention span? The question is, how do I make the things that matter engaging enough for my very demanding, very ancient, very picky brain?
So now that you understand what is actually happening, let's talk about what to do about it. And I want to be very clear about something before we get into this. I am not going to tell you to delete your apps. I am not going to tell you to do a digital detox. I am not going to tell you to wake up at 4 a.m. and meditate for an hour, because that is not realistic for most people, and you know it. What I am going to give you instead are 4 practical strategies that work with your brain instead of against it. Strategies that understand your brain is a dopamine-hungry prehistoric creature and use that fact to your advantage. Strategy number 1. Design your environment before you need willpower. Here is something neuroscience makes very clear. Willpower is not a personality trait. It is a limited resource, and it depletes throughout the day, which means relying on willpower to resist your phone is like trying to hold back a river with your hands. Eventually, the river wins, every time. So instead of fighting the urge, remove the trigger. Put your phone in another room before you sit down to work. Not on silent, not face down, another room. Studies show that the mere presence of a smartphone on a desk, even face down and silent, reduces your available cognitive capacity. Just seeing it costs you brain power. Out of sight is not just out of mind. Out of sight is out of your prefrontal cortex's way. And while you're at it, switch your phone screen to grayscale. Color is a dopamine trigger. A gray screen is a boring screen, and a boring screen stays in your pocket. Strategy number 2. Schedule your dopamine instead of letting it schedule you. Right now, your brain is getting dopamine hits randomly throughout the day. Every scroll, every notification, every tab switch. And that random reward pattern keeps your brain in a constant state of low-level distraction, always half expecting the next hit, always half somewhere else. The fix is to give your brain something to look forward to at a specific time. Work for 25 minutes completely undistracted, then give yourself a 5-minute dopamine break. Check your phone, watch something, scroll, whatever you want, but only in that window. What you're doing is training your brain that the reward is coming, just not yet. That anticipation actually improves focus during the work period. Your brain can tolerate boredom much better when it knows exactly when the fun starts. This is the science behind the Pomodoro technique, and it works not because of discipline, but because of dopamine scheduling. Strategy number 3. Hack your own novelty bias. Remember how we said your brain loves new things? Use that against it. If a task feels boring, change something about the environment. Work from a different room. Put on a specific playlist you only play during deep work. Use a different color pen. Set a personal challenge or a deadline that doesn't exist. Your brain doesn't need the task to be new. It just needs something about the experience to feel different enough to stay engaged. This is why some people focus better in coffee shops than at home. It's not the coffee, it's the novel environment constantly giving the brain just enough low-level stimulation to stay alert without being fully distracted. You can manufacture that feeling deliberately, and it costs you nothing. Strategy number 4. Single tasking like your life depends on it, because in a very real sense, your quality of life does. Multitasking is one of the greatest lies ever told about human productivity.
Your brain actually doesn't multitask. It switches between tasks rapidly, and every single switch costs you something called a switching tax, a period of reduced cognitive performance as your brain reloads the previous task. Studies show that after an interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes to fully return to a task. 23 minutes for one interruption, which means if you get interrupted 3 times in an hour, you were never actually focused at all. One task, one tab, one window. Give your ancient brain the one thing it was never designed to handle, multiple threats simultaneously, removed, and watch what happens to your output.
Remember the very first thing you saw in this video? Pete picking up his phone, putting it down, picking it up again, not knowing why? That was not a joke. That was not just a relatable meme. That was 200,000 years of evolutionary programming playing out in real time, in a living room, on a Tuesday. And now, you know exactly why it happens. You know about the orienting response. You know about dopamine anticipation. You know about the novelty bias. You know about Amy hijacking Pete every single time that screen lights up. And knowledge, real knowledge, is the first thing that changes behavior, because you cannot fight something you do not understand. Here is what I want you to take away from this. Your brain is not your enemy. It is an incredibly sophisticated survival machine that has been running non-stop for 200,000 years. It kept your ancestors alive through ice ages, predators, famine, and everything else the world threw at them. It is powerful beyond anything we have built. It just wasn't designed for this world, for infinite content, for always-on connectivity, for a notification every 4 minutes. So give it some grace, and then give it some structure. Because the goal was never to have a longer attention span. The goal was always to direct the one you have toward the things that actually matter to you. Your brain is a caveman, but you are not, so teach it. If this video made something click for you, share it with one person whose brain you think needs to hear this. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to Pascal Method for more videos like this. Much love.